Number 1. Season 2 of Deal or No Deal Island was a clear step up from Season 1 because man oh man did Season 1 feel like a rough draft of the show, and Season 2 was more refined, but we need to reach the final draft of how this game works, if you know what I mean. In my opinion, it needs to be tweaked and corrected if it wants to survive long term. I have personally enjoyed it, and thankfully it has been renewed for a 3rd season, so my first fix that I think they should implement for next time is to get rid of these cliffhanger / non-elimination episodes. Now, it only happened twice this past season, but both times it was a buzzkill, especially when you only get 1 episode a week. Yeah, ending on a non-elimination is just garbage. For the episode where Parvati played Deal or No Deal, it made sense on paper. David got to eliminate Philip, and therefore we did see an elimination that episode, but the show needs to be consistent and always end on a Deal or No Deal game. Meaning, Philip should have just played Deal or No Deal, and the next episode starts with Parv doing the same since this round of the game was a double elimination. The one thing you can count on when you watch something like Survivor or The Traitors and Amazing Race is that you know what the format is going to be for each episode, and therefore will never end an episode dissatisfied due to structural change. You may be dissatisfied by the result of what happens in the episode, but you'll never be dissatisfied by the show seeming like it's kind of tricking you, if that makes sense. Deal or No Deal Island needs to lock in its structure, and within those boundaries, within that structure, then decide how to mix it up and keep it fresh, but keep the structure consistent. Now, I did ask for some of your suggestions here on YouTube, and here are some of those, starting with Cannon says they should explain the rules better. A lot of people have simply stopped watching because they didn't know how the show worked or what was happening, which is part of what I was saying, keeping the show consistent, keeping the structure consistent so that it's easy to jump into the show. Shiny Shade says, I hope they continue to cast at most just a few reality TV show veterans each season. It's nice to see some returning faces while still giving the opportunity for new players to shine. I'm a bit concerned that the show will start doing what The Traitors is doing and only cast former reality TV stars and celebrities. And Shiny Shades, I get it. For those who have not seen The Traitors, the very first season of the US Traitors had half newbies and half celebrities, and I thought it was a good season because of that. I mean, there was other things, but because of that format, it worked really well. But then season 2 decided to do all celebrities, like going all in, and it just wasn't as good. And I don't think season 3 was as good. I think season 1 is the best of the 3. And it had half newbies and half celebrities. Emily says there needs to be a vote if someone wins Deal or No Deal. Instead of that person voting someone out, they have too much power by themselves. I get what you're saying, Emily. I think maybe it would be better if everyone voted who got to play Deal or No Deal, like from the eligible people on the bottom instead of like one person getting the sole power, because it's a bit Big Brothery in my opinion. And let's all be honest, Big Brother is not as popular as Survivor or The Traitors. Yeah, you should move away from trying to copy Big Brother is my point. So let's have people vote on who should play Deal or No Deal. I think that would be better. Number 2, my second point is just to simplify everything. I am kind of piggybacking off of that comment we read earlier from Cannon. I wrote this literally after reading Cannon's. I'm like, you know what? I agree. And you will see this theme of simplifying in my remaining fixes, as I agree with many of the comments you all left as well. The rules of the game should be simple and consistent. That's it. Number 3, above all else, this might be the most important fix of the entire show. We need to see more time at camp, and I will address where that time would come from in my next point. I think currently that the challenges are the right amount of time of the episode, but the camp time feels so limited and rushed that I don't feel like I know half the cast, especially when the reality TV stars eat up a lot of the screen time from the fresh faces. We need more time at camp exploring these relationships so that when someone is eliminated or someone else does the eliminating, we feel the weight and the emotion behind it. Right now, the reality stars they cast are a crutch for the storytelling due to the built-in weight they have, but it completely detracts from the newbies that this show cast, that this show sought out and put on the show. And therefore, it makes it harder to root for these newbies when I am just watching all the camp time be dedicated to these returning players. This would be solved with more time shown at camp and the bonds these people form. Here are some more of your ideas. Remix says there needs to be more player power pre-temple somehow. Sending whoever you want home as a single person is just too strong. There needs to be agency for the others outside of the social aspect. I don't know if something like idols is the answer from Survivor. Maybe just make another sort of elimination challenge. If the person who faces the banker wins, then the bottom two that didn't face the banker duel or something. This would eliminate the Dr. Will strategy of hitting the bottom on purpose and also provide some way out for the person who was second to last place. And Remix, it's not even really a Dr. Will strategy. It's actually Boston Rob who said this in season 1. He's like, actually, you kind of want to face the banker because you get so much power. I mean, it's a little bit risky. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not guaranteed you're going to survive, but I feel like the odds are ever in your favor. Anthony says, a few episodes, too many people were safe. I like the pool of who could be going home be big. And Anthony, I agree with you. I think that every episode should only have 1 or 2 people at most be safe. It's just so inconsistent. Like some episodes, half the cast is safe. The other part, it's like there's not enough. Everyone should be eligible with the exception of like 1 or 2 people. I'm with you, Anthony. Do you want to tell me what videos I should make about Survivor, The Traitors, Deal or No Deal Island, and The Amazing Race? Well, the patrons on Patreon pick this video and you can too. You will also gain the benefit of watching everything well before it goes live on YouTube. If you're interested, then there's a link in the description. Thank you for your support. Now with that, number 4. I like Deal or No Deal. It's a fun game, and the show's integration of the game into this new format seemed crazy at first, but now I like it for the most part. However, it too needs a change, not the game itself. Season 2 streamlined the game in a way that made it better for TV and not all over the place like it was in season 1 with the changing number of cases. Yes, I did notice despite the show not addressing it. Despite that streamlining, Deal or No Deal seems to take way too much of the episode and drags out a lot, but it doesn't need to. By my count, the Deal or No Deal portion of each episode takes anywhere from 14 to 18 minutes out of 41. That is far too much. That might sound crazy given the name of the show is Deal or No Deal Island, and now I'm complaining that the Deal or No Deal portion of the game takes too long, but trust me, it's too long. The only time it should take up most of the episode, if not the whole episode, is when the final person faces the banker, and that's it. For the regular eliminations, this needs to be locked, in my opinion, to 10 minutes out of the 41 minutes. Those precious 4 to 8 minutes can be used back at camp to build up the relationships between players to help us feel the weight of each Deal or No Deal game because yes, it's enjoyable to watch the cases be opened, but I need more emotion and weight behind what is happening. And right now it's lacking, and that time can be taken out of this opening the case random game and put into the players. Now for some more of your ideas. ZC says there should be more personal offers, and if you're going to have a journey, I think it's only fair to inform the players. I know what ZC is referring to, and I'll explain it right after I read the rest of his comment. They say all of the eliminated players had access to phones in the outside world, so they all knew David was from Australian Survivor by the time they came back in, and it seems to conflict with the game. So what ZC is saying is that the jury was kind of out of left field. Like there was kind of a jury and it did help or hurt people at the very end of the game, and nobody knew that was going to happen. It was a structural change. Again, they need to keep the structure consistent. You know what I mean? But on top of that, the players apparently had access to the internet to find out that David was from Australian Survivor, whereas on the show, they didn't know that. So once they're eliminated and they find this out, they're less likely to want to help David because now they know who he is. They didn't know who he was, and now they know who he is because of the internet. That shouldn't be allowed. If you're eliminated, you shouldn't have access to any of that stuff. And if you are eliminated and you do have access to that stuff, then there shouldn't be a jury. You shouldn't be on a jury. That's just not fair. Hans says they need to make the temples more interesting. I find that I usually just look up what happened after the show got to the temple. Also, I love most of the changes this season, but you need to have at least half the cast at risk each round. Agreed, Hans, agreed. More people need to be at risk for elimination. Lucas says the only part that I don't like is that to stay in the game when you face the banker, technically you have to open up big cases to increase your odds of staying, but everything else is totally fine. Actually, Luca, I don't think you want to open big cases. You really want to open smaller cases because you don't know what's in your case. So the more big cases on the board, the higher the offer, and therefore it's more likely that offer will be higher than what's in your case, but I get what you're saying. Number 5, I have spoken a lot about feeling the weight of things, and I think the show recognizes this as they tried to make the final 3 challenge of this past season have that by having the eliminated players help or hurt the final 3 when it came time to pick cases, which is why one of the comments I read earlier was upset that the jury, these people who were in this challenge, got to find out who David was when they didn't know who he was before. I like the idea of what they're doing in season 2, but the execution was wonky. Why not instead have a regular final 3 where the third person plays Deal or No Deal like anyone else? With the final 2, they have to hold a case above their head or something to that effect. It's not that exact challenge. It's just the idea to see who wins this game, who wants it more. It seems to me like seasons 1 and 2 experimented on how to end the game, and a good old fashioned test of who really wants it more is always endearing to watch as a viewer, and it really will make you feel like when they go to face the banker, yeah, this person wanted it. They really wanted it. So let's see what else you all have up your sleeves. Blue Devil says, my change would be to have a vote for who faces the banker versus having one person decide. The winner of the excursion should get immunity. team if it's a team challenge. I love the family and Boston Rob, and we're rooting for them, but it's tough for others to have a shot when these vets can just game the system. Mudkip says, so many of us stopped watching because the concept of the game itself just doesn't make a lot of sense. This goes back to me saying they need to simplify a lot. I know Island is in the branding, but it makes infinitely more sense thematically to play this game in a city. I don't think the theme would change, Mudkip, but I agree. They need to simplify things so that you can jump into the show and it's not too complicated. Keep things consistent and simple. Simon says they really need to give more time for characters. Yes, Simon, this is what I was just saying. Yes, the show only being 40 minutes long is ridiculous. I mean, that I get. They aren't on network. They are on network, Simon. Actually, they're literally airing on NBC. Add 10 minutes of character building so I can care about each person and understand their motives. I still have no idea why Braxton took out Storm in this past season. So Simon, not to well actually you, but well actually it does air on network television before it goes on Peacock, which is why it is the length it is. However, I agree with you. They could definitely allow more time for characters by cutting time from the Deal or No Deal temple at the end of the episode. Number 6, speaking of challenges, can we get some consistency? It seems to change from episode to episode on how many people are safe to the point of confusion. Now, as someone who watches shows like this and makes videos all about them, I get it. But even I, from time to time, have to go back and listen to what the host, Joe, who, by the way, is doing an excellent job, and I am very impressed by him, what he says when explaining the game that they're playing, because it changes up far too often. Again, season 2 improved on this, but they need to fully commit to the bit. Only 1 or 2 people should be safe in each episode. Now it could start with only 2 people being safe each episode until we reach a certain threshold, and then it changes to 1. But please, please, please be consistent. It would help a ton with the ease of watchability. Hurdle Hunter says, having a secret banker until the last episode is a waste of talent for the show. Seeing the banker as a co-host the entire season would be more entertaining. I actually think it would be more distracting in my personal opinion. And I'm betting that, like, for Chrissy Teigen, for example, when she came out there, they were able to pay her much less for her being out there one time rather than an entire 2 weeks or however long the show takes to film. SANJUMITRA says, I feel like having returning stars alongside newbies feels a bit strange. It completely overshadows the new players as you are only invested, for example, in this last season, Parvati, Dr. Will, and David, or in season 1's case, Boston Rob. I feel like they should do 2 seasons, one with newbies and one with veterans. If they can't afford to get too many big names, they could have 2 or 3 really big ones and then fill the rest of the cast with smaller names. A. Wilk says, honestly, Deal or No Deal Island just needs less luck elements because this show has a lot of luck involved, which results in a lack of real strategic play. So, dear viewer, how do you think Deal or No Deal Island could be improved upon? Comment below and let me know. Thank you for watching, and doubly thanks for liking and subscribing. I'll see you all next time.